of ours.
I mean,
We'll cut that. We don't want to get into. I don't want. I don't want her phoning me up. You know,
No.
J.H. Rowling, whatever her name is, in the middle of the night saying I can't say that. No, I'm ex-directory now, Joanne. So you can't get to me, Alan. Hello, you're listening to Tony Slattery's Rambling Club, and you're most welcome.
Well, it's Christmas Day. It's probably not 5 to 5, but nevertheless, the doors are open once again to Tony Slattery's Rambling Club. And my name is Paul Carmichael. Hello there.
And I'm Alan Webb.
And this is Mr. Tony Slattery. Oh, hello. There we are. And this is a special hello to all of you out there on Christmas Day from us. So let's get started by giving the machine a whirl and seeing where we end up. Off we go.
Tony's enchanted bingo machine. A curious contraption of cogs, levers and glowing buttons that hums with ominous energy. This machine generates 3 completely random numbers. These numbers are fed directly into the Dewey Decimal System, the arcane reference system by which books and their contents are categorized. In this way, the bingo machine conjures from thin air a topic of conversation so enthralling, so wildly unexpected, that it leaves the members of the Rambling Club both bewildered and vaguely excited. Thus, another evening is saved from the brink of boredom, thanks to Tony's marvellous, possibly haunted and entirely inexplicable bingo machine.
Well, here we are in the great outdoors with, of course, our very own president, Mr. Tony Slattery, and our first numbers, which are
7, 0, 2.
702, 702. And that means the first subject is fine and decorative arts.
Oh, fine and decorative.
Fine and decorative
Okay.
arts.
Before we get there, because of the bingo machine, I'd like to remind Alan of an episode in a working men's club, which we frequented thanks to Alan's family, where they did bingo, but Alan and I decided to do surreal bingo, where the numbers weren't 2 fat ladies, 88, Key of the Door, 21. It was a different, just peculiar, nonsensical thing, and some people laughed, and some people actually played along with it. So, we'll do the same now. I can't remember what we said, but it was, I stand, ladies and gentlemen, contemporary Israeli architecture, 8. And some of them actually, and then it was over to you who'd say something like,
A crazy postman who wants a fight, 23.
overhead, look, a Zeppelin, 5. And he just went on like that.
2 and 7, 10.
But we'll leave it there. It really was. But there are a couple of old biddies, and that's not being horrible to them. They were,
Lerica's mum. Taking it extremely and sweating on one number.
And there were prizes, like a bottle of you want to call bubbly, but it was like 5%, one of those ridiculous wines and things like that. But you were saying, decorative art.
Fine and decorative.
Fine and decorative art now, but why have you put those? Why are those two together? Because they're quite disparate. I was there was a program called Going for a Song, and I was a regular on it with Mariella Frostrup. We were the 2 amateurs, and there were 2 experts, and it was a lovely Michael Parkinson, who was a German. And shall I tell this story?
Yes.
Okay, I think there's no tape of it, and it was lovely to meet Mariella, and I was interested, and I read up in Miller's, which is kind of fine arts and auction Bible, and in the pilot, I was given two exquisite things, by a man in a brown coat. So, Tony, I'm trying to think Mike Parkinson, but this is how he spoke. So, Tony, because what do you think of these two? Two beautiful commedia dell'arte figures. I said, oh, I think they're exquisite. And I picked one up gently, and I snapped its head off. Right. So, there was silence, and then guffaws of laughter from the studio audience. Me, I was shouting in shame and laughing at the same time. Michael was shaking with laughter. The two experts were going, and so was Mariella, to be fair. And through the laughter, I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I hope it's not expensive. And someone said, it's almost priceless. Oh, I hope it doesn't belong to anyone. And there was someone who'd ordered. Yes, it's been in my family for over 200 years. This is all fact. This is empirical fact. I bet the tape exists somewhere. But the next show I did, the show which was the pilot, I did better. And I guessed prices and I identified things. And Michael Parkinson very subtly introduces, and of course we have one of our resident guests, the only man who can make 3 antiques out of 2, Tony Slattery. And some of the audience laughed because they had been seeing the pilot. And it was a very subtle way of saying, you clumsy bastard.
I love the fact when you've mentioned that to me before, you said from that moment on you're only allowed to review the furniture.
The furniture, huge kind of wardrobes from a great distance away.
Solid oak tables.
Solid oak tables and dresses and things. Sorry, decorative over to you. I was talking too much, but I wanted to get that off my chest. Decorative art versus, what was it?
Fine art.
Fine art. Well, can they be the same?
Well, they can be, but I'm trying to think. Barbara Hepworth.
Yes.
I went to her studio a few years ago. I absolutely adore those pieces of art. They're beautiful things that she has there. But they're not fine art, are they? But they're certainly
no.
These beautiful decorative pieces.
I suppose, decorative is to be decorative and there to be enjoyed, and that can be in a domestic setting. Fine art, I suppose you mostly associate with either stately homes or museums or cathedrals or churches. That would be my plebeian distinction.
Well, that sort of takes us back in a way to something we discussed a couple of weeks ago now, which is that idea of art and religion coming together. We touched on that briefly. I know that the church and back in the late Middle Ages, the church used to use quite explicit pictures of nudes, didn't they? Which the churches would be decorated through in the hope that people would come to see the pornography and then stay for the service. Sure. Which is wonderful bit of marketing there.
Oh, yeah, I think you've hit on some kind of commercial idea there for today.
Yeah.
Cleanse your soul, but whack yourself off. At the same time, just mind the pictures.
Come for the sin, stay for the pains.
Oh dear.
Wonderful. There's a wonderful thing in Samuel Pepys' diaries as well, where he's talking about he's in church. I love reading Samuel Pepys because he's just that far away from buggering up every single time.
Oh yes, indeed.
And there's a wonderful section in one of the entries where he talks about going to church, but primarily so he could stand behind a lady whose arse he rather liked.
That's
and
right.
then he just stood for the whole service, staring at her bum, the whole thing.
There you go. Well, the voluptuous people on the, what was it? I think it's a line from the History Boys, looking at Ellen Bennett says, when she goes to the History Boys, looking at the Sistine Chapel. And of course there are women there, but the women have all got 6-packs. And I think one of the characters says, "Sir, That's just a bodybuilder with tits on. And what this enormous women who did have, were completely ripped with small breasts and long flowing hair. And I think it might be confusing to some people who are impressionable.
I mean, the thing about the church is that there's quite a lot of religious iconography and, other forms of artistic expression that have come down to us as quite chaste and staid are so because the Victorians revised them to be so. They would paint togas on nudes.
Of course, fig leaves.
Glue fig leaves to statues, precisely so. Yeah. So,
And of course, when they uncovered the ruins of Pompeii, all of that idea of beautiful classical people stood there in togas. Suddenly, they're looking at this stuff that's fairly hardcore on the walls.
Yeah.
And therefore, it must be destroyed. Unfortunately, in awful lots of the time.
there's still a body in the petrified bodies in Pompeii. There is still a body of a poor chap who was just caught in the act of wanking when the volcano went off. Yeah.
This is true.
This is
It's completely true.
Yeah.
He's lying there mid-action.
Yeah. Is there no? That would sound odd. I was just say, is there a film of this? What I mean is, has it been recent? Is that a recent discovery then?
I think it's only recently they've admitted to it.
Oh,
It is
no,
there, yes.
or let it be seen.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that can be found in Pompeii is there's a brothel there, and outside the brothel, in the stone on the ground, there's a foot embossed into the pavement, and what that is apparently is it's the brothel's equivalent of one of those fairground rides that has a sign outside that says you must be this tall to ride this ride. So if your foot wasn't big enough to fill that impression, you weren't old enough to be in the brothel.
Right. So early form of ID card.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
Yeah. It's interesting not only that obviously those things existed because those desires have always existed, but that the legislation existed as well, and there was a formal method of policing how it was done.
Well, fine or decorative. Take the Eiffel Tower. Absolutely loathed by many, worshipped by others. I think it's wonderful. Many Parisians hate it. The turn of the century artists who frequented cafes would often sit with their backs to it because they thought it was the worst thing ever built. I think Blackpool Tower is better. That's my own opinion. I've never been up Blackpool Tower, but I've been up the Eiffel Tower, and I'm not sure there are prostitutes at the bottom of Eiffel Tower or, rent boys and drugs, but they're probably everywhere now, and that's the society we live in.
There was a recovery march.
Sorry, I just been Mary Whitehouse.
A few years ago, there was a recovery march in Blackpool where a lot of the alcohol and substance abuse groups, they do an annual march where everybody goes for a jolly in a town somewhere. And they did it in Blackpool one year.
A march for taking it? Or
Well, no, for all the people
recovery?
who are in recovery.
Right. Right. No, I didn't mean to.
No,
I didn't know what you meant. That's all.
So it was the recovery services organised.
Right.
It's kind of a jolly for all the recovery services
Right.
to get to go.
Right.
And they did it in Blackpool, and afterwards they spoke to Blackpool Council and said, how did that go? And Blackpool said, well, we were a bit disappointed, really. And the recovery service went, oh, were you? We thought it was a really good event. And the Blackpool Council went, well, the pubs didn't do as well as we thought they'd do.
Ah, right. I see. It's like that's the same as being on a gay pride march, really, really good and really jolly, and said, "Oh yeah, but I didn't see enough straight men marrying straight women."
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought they left that out.
You've misread the box when you ordered it, clearly. Yeah.
I thought the flags were a bit puffy.
It was all a bit colourful.
Yeah, it's fine, not too colourful.
Well, here we are, a second location and a second set of Christmas Day numbers. And those numbers are
6, 2, 1.
621, 621. And that means that our subject is...
Oh, God. Applied physics.
Yes. Alan?
Well, that's quite a broad topic because everything is applied physics.
Yes.
Everything you do is applied physics. You walk down the street, that's applied physics. It's also biomechanics, but it's leverage and,
Did you
fulcrums.
have to get a physics O level?
I
Did you get it?
I did do the 3 separate sciences at GCSE.
I bet you got an A, did you?
No, I got a B and 2 C's.
Okay. I got a C. So we're getting very nostalgic. Do you remember those old towels you used to have after rugby? Oh, I miss the old days. It's all showers now, No, physics. I got a C in physics. But I clearly wasn't good enough with the sciences. Applied physics. The person, perhaps we can get him on, person you need to talk to is a friend of mine since 1979. He is Dr. Richard Branch, who has done many things, but he's most famous for the brilliant improvised music on Whose Line Is It Anyway from all those years ago, but he's done loads. He could have been Brian Cox before Brian Cox, not the actor. I could have been Brian Cox, the actor, I think, but I need to be talented.
I always loved the idea growing up of becoming a scientist, and then I realised I wanted to play a scientist.
Okay.
It's something. I loved the idea of being in a laboratory set, not a laboratory, and having a clipboard, but with all sorts of things on that I would never be able to understand.
Do you like as I do, the really early, creaky science fiction American B-pics? They're wonderful. And of course, there are others which are great, like The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Wonderful film.
Day of the Triffids. Science fiction ones I'm trying to think of. This Island Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, many with very deep messages about world peace and how we get on. And but the creaky ones is meant. What was the worst film ever made? This is by general consensus. Millions of people's Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah.
That's right. And on Whose Line, I remember we did one of those voiceover things. You see the clip, and the problem was you couldn't ever be funny. I think it was Paul Merton and Jonathan Pryce. He was on the show once, and I did film and theatre stars with him. The great Jonathan Pryce, and he was so generous and lovely. But the Plan 9 from Outer Space, right, it was two guys clearly in front of a full mica table with some kind of shower curtain behind them. And this woman kept coming in with conical tits and just looking. But then Jonathan Pryce and Paul did actually make it funny, and it's so funny. They did it, and it was a simple. Okay, you're booking a holiday. And Jonathan Pryce suddenly decided to go Scottish. Paul just came in as she went through the curtain and began to, do you need holidays, please? And he went, well, it's very windy at the moment. You go to Scotland. And it just went on like that. And it was terribly funny and inventive. But that is generally voted the worst film ever made.
It is shocking. Ed Wood's stuff. I mean, it's
Ed
with
Wood,
such
that's right.
love, isn't it? But it's terrible stuff.
And it was poor old Bela Lugosi's last film, of course.
It was. But he managed to do, was it 2 sequences he shot in a graveyard, walking towards the camera, putting his cloak to his face and walking off, and that was all he had.
Yeah.
And then,
No. The reason was he died halfway through.
Yes.
And so,
he's got the-
and the only person who could place him was about 3 feet taller, so they had to dig a ditch. And so he looked the size, and the cloak over the face was to just hide who he was.
And I remembered who the person was.
Oh, hello.
It was Ed Wood's dentist. Because he said he had exactly the same skull structure as Lugosi from the nose upwards. So he was hard, and that's why he's doing this wherever he goes, with the hand there in front of the face. Yeah, he's a dentist.
To hide his immaculate teeth.
Yes.
Who probably would have looked a more interesting vampire then.
Yeah, possibly. It was gorgeous canines. Yeah. Professor Brian Cox was scientific advisor on the film. Is it Sunshine? Is it called the one where they fire a nuclear weapon into the sun to restart it because the sun's dying? And apparently, the sum total of his scientific advice to that film was none of this makes any sense.
It's an odd one though, physics. I don't know. It's the science is, like I say, they appeal to me from a performance perspective. But now, when you listen to people talking about the God particle and stuff, I mean, it's almost as though physics and that paranormal thing are maybe going to conjoin at some point, but that would explain that.
So Einstein referred to quantum mechanics as spooky action at a distance, because it was totally antithetical to Einstein's view of the world, which was kind of Newtonian. He thought the universe was basically mechanical and could be understood. And, you know, in the early 20th century, quantum mechanics kind of blew that apart, because a lot of quantum mechanics was saying, actually, the world is probabilistic, it's not deterministic, and you can't always know what's going to happen next.
No.
And that's what gave rise to ideas in the 20th century, like chaos theory and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of kind of pop science out there that's not particularly accurate, but it's made its way into the public imagination, like Schrodinger's cat, the thing about the cat being alive and dead at the same time if it's in the box. The whole point Schrodinger was making was that cats don't work like that. You can't have a cat that's alive and dead. It's got to be one or the other. But that was what the Copenhagen interpretation of the quantum mechanical system was that all these probabilities must exist in superposition until such time as they're observed. But I think that the thing is that about what you're saying about physics becoming almost close to kind of a religious or a philosophical position again, is so much of physics is not only very abstruse these days and difficult to understand, it's highly specialized, but it's also very counterintuitive. It doesn't fit with the way we imagine the world works, because we are macro scale creatures. We exist in a universe that appears deterministic, and we are not programmed, we're not evolved to understand how the quantum world works, because it's not the scale we exist on.
Alan, please be aware that some people listening may be very, very vulnerable and easily led. You know, they might go out and do things because of what you just said.
Might go and put a cat in a box.
Yes. Yes, don't do that, listeners. Alan is a dear friend of mine, but sometimes it goes very strange indeed. I've offered him help, but no. He goes off on one, turns the whole scientific community on its head, makes people run naked through the streets screaming, God, where are you? You don't exist. You've been listening to Alan Lee on physics. And jolly good too. But also, don't forget about those 1950s sci-fi B-pics.
Why do we still believe in all that stuff? Because there's a lovely...
physics?
Well, no, they're all... Back to the parapsychological
Oh, okay,
stuff.
we should get back.
Well, that's that lovely debate that... It's not even really a debate. It's Stephen Fry, Christopher Hitchens at the Hay Festival, and I think it's Joan Bakewell presenting on the debate. And she asked them, what's happened? Why have we gone backwards? Because in the 60s, it very much felt like science is coming in and we are going to reject all this. But as she says, we've gone backward. Why would we go backwards, do you think?
Well, then backwards, then it comes back to the concept of God. My problem with the existence of God, and I was a clever boy, and I got slapped by a nun for introducing it, and I was only about 10, I think, and she said, God is past, present, and future, and his greatest gift to mankind, that's how she talked, was free will, and no other animals had that. And I said, what about, this is because I've read it, what about compatibilism? What? What do you say? Well, if God is past, present, and future, and our greatest gift is free will, but he knows what we're going to do anyway, then we're kind of automatons, aren't we? If we do his will, we don't have any will. I'll slap me around the face because I'm getting too complicated. There was another time when I was slapped, but this was later when I was 8, and I got the Lord's Prayer wrong. And it's a sweet story in a way, in the way I got it wrong, because you had to do it in turns. And I got it wrong by saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, how are you, by the way? Instead of, hallowed be thy name. And the class giggled, and the nurse was, it was later a nurse, the nun was on me like a ton of bricks, and certain things happened after that as well, which I don't want to go into. But she gave me concussion, and I actually think, I don't think it is blasphemous anyway. I think it's a rather sweet version, just to ask the Lord how he is.
Nobody ever asks. They always want something, don't
Yes,
they?
yes.
They never just go,
How's it going up there with the cosmos, the one we know of?
all the other angels behaving themselves.
Yes. How's Gabriel? Oh, he's not going down those clubs again, is he? Oh, dear. Leather Queen.
But I think, to answer your question, I think technology is to blame. Because you know that famous Arthur C. Clarke quote about any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Back in the 60s, the summit of technology was a bloody great rocket engine that was going to fire a man at the moon. You can understand that. You know, that's a fairly basic principle. How does a DVD player work? How does a computer work? How does your smartphone work? So much technology now is beyond the grasp of the average man in the street that it's essentially magical. And I think that's, you know, we've kind of gone backwards in terms of magical thinking because we're surrounded by magic. The world is not something that we understand
But magic-
in the West, anyway.
Yeah, but etymologically, magic does not mean something you don't understand. Physical activity of machines can be understood, but to people who, like me, who know nothing about technology, I wouldn't say it was magical. I would just go, oh, I can't handle this. It's too baffling and
Well, I
scary
thought that's what
for
Clark
me.
meant, yeah.
Right, I
not,
see what
not
you mean.
that
I
it is
getcha.
magical, but that it might as well be for all,
Right,
all you
gotcha.
can understand of it.
Gotcha.
You know. Because you know, back in the 60s, you would be a reasonably interested layman would be able to repair their own car or their own television or, you know, any of the household appliances. These days, impossible for nearly everybody. You would have to be a specialist and well educated in the field, I would say, to be able to.
I'm still at the, have you tried turning it off and on again?
That works though. Right?
Yeah, I've looked at it does. Works with people as well.
But even then, you see, people won't explain it to you. I've had somebody say to me, you know, oh well, the reason is your machine needs a little rest. I go, is that the reason? Is it okay? If you say,
And do they mean it in that sense?
I don't. I think they thought,
Right,
you're not
okay.
going to understand the real reason. I'll say something you can.
Oh, I
comprehend.
see.
But isn't that better if they put it in that way? I mean, a pet hate of mine is whenever we have people who come and do work on the house. I had an electrician in yesterday, and so I'm paying him to do a job, but he insisted on telling me what he was doing for the whole time he was there.
Right.
And I thought, I'm not interested at all.
Right, but he probably thought he was being polite and interesting and behaving like a good electrician to take you through it.
It's sort of an informed consent thing, isn't it? It's like when a doctor gives you a complex medical explanation of what they're going to do. They go, I don't care, just make me better. But they have to tell you so that.
I
you
do
can say
care.
them. Well, that's,
and I
yes,
challenge
yeah,
them.
true.
And I think, and often, I'm sorry, big-headed me, I often said, but isn't that contraindicated, and indeed with a bad reaction because of the added molecular structure of trazodoniamine? He said, see, it may be pretentious, but it's only with doctors I know. Gosh, you're right, yes. Basically, if you take those these two tablets together, your head will explode. Thank you for telling me. Take this instead. Yes, that's safer. Thank you.
And the other thing I would blame is science journalism. Because so much of science is for specialists, and journalists are generalists by definition, but some of it is so poorly researched. I mean, everybody remembers the millennium bug, right? Which was all the computers were going to crash on the millennium and we were all going to die. And the reason that was popularly touted for this in the press was, what happens is, when the year goes round to zero, the computer thinks it's 1900, and the computer thinks it hasn't been invented yet. Now, I was raised with basic BBC microcomputer spectrums, that sort of thing. I know for a fact that the computer is not asking if it's been invented yet before it loads your Word file. And if it had been, what idiot programmed that into the computer? Anyway, if file not found, have existential crisis. It's not how programming works.
Alan, look, calm down. We've all we all have. I was going to say something. Arthur Smith, in the middle of Just a Minute, would, if it got particularly fractious, there might be me, there might be whoever on there, Maury Lipman or whatever, and it got fractious. Arthur would always say, "Look, we've all had a drink," and the audience would laugh, and everyone would laugh, and indeed it did get heated. Sorry, getting off the subject. No, but it's a heat. It's like heat.
We're back on physics with you.
Back on physics.
Well, here we are back in the shed on this rather chilly Christmas day, and what a pleasure it's been to have you with us for this very special ramble. And of course, the main thing to ask now is, Tony, did you enjoy rambling with us?
I think it's been fascinating. I didn't know where it was going. I certainly didn't know where I was going. I thought you two were fascinating. God knows what I said. But I think we covered the subjects with depth and integrity and subtlety. There.
I think so, absolutely. So, Alan, we should talk about how people can get in touch with us as well. Tony has a website. What's the address for that?
It's nice and easy to remember. It's tonyslattery.com.
And of course, there's all the other ways that you can get in touch with us. You can find all those in the program description. You don't want me going on about those on Christmas Day. So thank you very much, and thank you for joining us for the last 56 or so editions of Tony Slattery's Rambling Club. We really have enjoyed bringing you the show. This is the end of Series 1. We need a little bit of a break after 56 episodes on the trot, but we will be back in a few weeks' time with a brand new series of The Rambling Club. So until then, thank you, Alan.
Thank you. My feet are sore and I am learned.
And thank you, Tony Slattery. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Paul.
You have been listening to Tony Slattery's Rambling Club with our president, Tony Slattery. He was accompanied by Sir Stephen Fry as the voice of the Bing Machine. President Slattery was assisted by Paul Carmichael and Alan Liar. The music was composed and performed by Michael Livesley and Andy Frizzell. Silly voices are by Michael Livesley and the show's concept is by Paul Carmichael. Our producers are Stuart Maurice and Alan Dybing. The show's producers are Erika Liar and Mark Hutchinson, and the series executive producer is Mark Strickson. Tony Slattery's Rambling Club is a Fanfanitel production.
Goodbye, and thank you for listening.